Welcome, Mr. Singhal, to Buy Side Hippies. Thank you so much for taking out time to be with us on a podcast. I know your time is very valuable, so I'll get right into some of the questions I had for you. So you're a very successful management consultant, entrepreneur, but first I wanted to understand you, sir, and who are you as a person, sir? So my first question is, sir, what matters to you in life the most and why?
Yeah, no, thank you, Asim, for having me here. I think I'm a big fan of your sort of energy and entrepreneurialism yourself. Thanks for having me here. So I think to answer your question, I think what matters to me the most is, is doing sort of meaningful work and doing it the right way. I think that's what matters the most. That's why I started my career as a management consultant, because you get to work with people, you get to work with organizations, business leaders, and create a meaningful difference, hopefully create a meaningful difference to their lives, to their businesses, to their organizations, which I think has its own ripple effects, to people who work with these organizations, in any capacity. So I think having, creating an impact, and doing meaningful work is important. But not, you can do a lot of impactful work and meaningful work, but you could do it the wrong way. And, that doesn't work for me. So, for example, you could create a very large business, but in the process, you could burn a lot of investor money. And so,
Right, sir.
while at the end of the day, you are very successful, right? And you can claim that you did very meaningful work, you did not do it the right way, right? And for me, so, working with meaning and then doing it the right way. Doing it the right way means, respecting capital, respecting people, respecting vendors and suppliers, respecting people who work with you, right? Being responsible or feeling responsible for their families, because at the end of the day, their families depend on you in some ways. So I think doing things the right way is sort of as important, if not more, than sort of what you're doing there. So yeah, I think that's what drives me. That's what I've been doing since my academic tenure, and then carried on in my professional journey as well.
That's really good to hear, sir. You want to create meaningful impact in the right way possible. I hope a lot of people who are listening to this also have some takeaways, can take some things from you, sir. But sir, on a personal note, you're a very successful person, and I know you must have burned midnight oil several times during your journey, sir. But now that you're a co-founder, you're running your own entrepreneurial venture, how do you find time for your own your personal interest, family, etc.? How did you go about your journey when you were right now hustling, sir?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. This is a very tricky question, and some people will like my answer and many others will not. See, I think there is no substitute to time. I think the way to find time is to actually find more time, more productive time. Now, I think there are three things that you do, right? One, I think this whole distinction between work and life, work and personal time, I think, that distinction is actually false. It's almost artificial. If you have that distinction, that means you don't like what you do, all right? Or if you're just so focused on work and not spending time with family, that means you don't like your family as much, perhaps, right? So I think the distinction is actually artificial. I think the way to do it, and the cliched word that is, or phrase that is being used now, work-life harmony, I think it's actually real. If your family can integrate with your profession, I think that's awesome. If they can have sensitivity towards your profession, that's awesome. They can understand the positives and the negatives, the constraints, and the boundaries of your profession or professional life. I think it makes for a easier and more meaningful contribution at both ends, work as well as family. Now, that's, I think, point number one, which is to harmonize the trade-offs rather than polarize the trade-offs, right? A lot of people tend to polarize the trade-offs more and more, right? And that eats into energy and time. And then the second thing is productivity, right? Maniacal productivity. I personally, and I advocate it for everybody who works with me, is to ruthlessly prioritize and do things that truly need their time, need their energy, and and having them, they should spend time on what they deserve. A lot of people tend to play roles which are one or two steps below, right? So it takes time. but it's not as productive. It does not lead you to work at full potential. A lot of times, people come to me almost telling me, look, hey, I spent so much time. You don't seem to be appreciative of what I'm doing. And my answer to them, no disrespect, is I think labor and time is not a unit of throughput. It's not a unit of productivity. In fact, if you're using more time, it can sometimes be a very bad thing. So you need to spend your time on what you should be doing. Just spending time is not important. I would, in fact, reward coworkers or people in my teams who get the job done in lesser amount of time than more amount of time, right? In fact, the lesser, there's this popular quote: "If I had more time, I would have written a shorter story," right? And I'm sure you've seen that. There are many other quotes, quick commerce, you would be actually happy to pay 70 rupees for a delivery to get groceries delivered in 10 minutes. But if you were to order groceries that would deliver to you in 4 days, you probably don't want to pay as much. So actually, lesser time has more value, right? So that's,
Right,
I
sir.
think, important. And the third thing is beyond productivity. I think it's also just expanding the time, right? I think at the end of the day, if you work 8 hours, you can only get 8 hours worth of work done, right? Irrespective of the productivity. If you work
Right, sir.
10, you do 10. You do 12, you'll do 12. If you do 14, it starts to become tricky because the productivity starts to come down, right? And starting to do 14 hours, 16 hours, 18 hours. So the argument that I'm making is not secular, right? It's
Right,
not
sir.
as if you need more time. I think it's like a curve, right? You work 2 hours a day, you probably do get something done, 4, 6, 8, maybe you peak at 10, and then you started to come down in terms of the productivity. I think the trick is in shifting this curve. It's not about spending more time, it's in shifting this curve. If you can spend, instead of 10 hours of productive time, you spend 12 hours of productive time, 13 hours of productive time, 14 hours of productive time, that's when you actually get a lot done. Now, no, seems very ruthless, what I'm saying. I'm almost advocating that, you should spend more time. But it's like, to me, I think it's just like, people like you, a lot of youngsters do physical training. You go to the gym, you do weight training, you do cardio training, you do 4 push-ups, then you do 8, you do 12, you do 20, you over time get to 16 a day, right? That's, training your muscles, right? To bear more load repeatedly. Mental bandwidth is a bit like that. Actually, you can do mental training, right? And
Right,
and
sir.
so as you do more mental training, you can actually stretch productive time to 14 to 16 hours. I even till today I sleep 4 hours, right? And that's been the time that's been sort of me. I don't know for the last 26 years.
Wow.
And a lot of people would say it's not healthy. People also well-wishers comment. I should regularize my sleep cycles. I should wear Fitbits and whatnot, to monitor. Surprisingly, I don't feel the need for doing that because I've been doing this for 26 years, and I think in some ways I've sort of trained my body and mind to operate with that equilibrium. And so till the time I start truly feeling tired, mentally tired, physically tired, and so on, there is no reason to cut down on this, right? And look, I cannot be doing this till age of 60, 75, 80. Of course not, right? But at least I've shifted the curve for a longer period of time, right? And then
Right,
over
sir.
time, yes, everybody will start to again sort of shift the curve leftwards, right? Because you can't keep
Right,
working
sir.
14 hours to your life. But I think you need to engineer your mind and your body to sort of. So I think the three messages, drive, prioritize, drive productivity, and actually mental train yourself to expand more time.
So this is a very valuable insight into what it really takes to sort of and the life you need to live and be able to sacrifice you have to make and the kind of output you have to achieve in order to really make it in life. That's the attitude. Like I'm just truly like blessed to sort of just get this directly
No,
from.
and I think if you see, it's not sacrifice. Sacrifice is a very wrong word. Look, nobody sacrifices for anything, right? You do what truly pleases you, right? And what
Right,
makes you
sir.
happy. And as a leader, forget business leader. As a leader, you're trying to drive alignment, right? Trying to have a set of people. The set of people can be a family, they can be your employees, they can be your other stakeholders, your shareholders, your board, your clients, whatever. You basically persuading, you're persuading your, other stakeholders to, in some ways, follow your path. And so I don't think there's any sacrifice. I don't think nobody should sacrifice. I think, it's about driving alignment. It's about harmonization. If you can get people to see the good in what you're doing, ultimately everything is a trade-off. And so I think you strike that balance. And as long as your stakeholders, which includes your family, which includes your immediate sort of stakeholders in the business, if they can see the good, I think they will accept the bad that comes along with the good. And so the bad is the sacrifice. But I'm a firm believer of, I don't think any of us do much sacrifice. Or at least we do it thinking it's sacrifice. Then it almost feels like, I'm giving something but not getting what I want out of that
Right,
giving.
sir. Right,
Um,
sir.
I don't
Right,
think
sir.
I don't think I don't think that's needed, right? I think you should give and get, and it is absolutely okay to give and get in harmony, in an equilibrium. There is no need to sacrifice.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you so much for lending your valuable insights, sir. So now I want to shift the focus to now your journey, sir, your valuable journey, sir. Can you tell me, sir, right from being a partner at Bain and Company to co-founding and building a multi-million dollar successful strategy consulting firm, Praxis. Uh, what what inspired you to take that leap of faith and uh, what motivated you to get into entrepreneurship, sir?
Yeah. So I think there are two questions, that you're asking. I think one, look, entrepreneurial motivation, I think, comes from within. Also, a lot of people become entrepreneurs in the last many years, especially in India.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually awesome, right? You're seeing a lot of entrepreneurship. But, I also see some people who do not have sort of entrepreneurial motivation from within, but in trying to get into entrepreneurship for many other reasons, right? Maybe they feel like this way, it's a get quick rich scheme. I think they're at the right place, right time, so they can do it, et cetera, et cetera. But the entrepreneurial motivation is about, building an institution, with that is world class, that will scale, that can sustain on its own. Why sustenance on its own is very important, because only that's how people who are a part of that organization can sustain on their own, right? If the organization does not sustain, it's actually quite unfair to people who are associated with you, right, to sustain.
Right, sir.
And so entrepreneurial motivation has to come from within. And, I've personally been influenced by many, many business leaders, right, from Narayan Murthy to several others. And I think to be an entrepreneur, you truly need to enjoy the process of job creation, right? If you do not feel excited with the process of job creation, right? And feeling for your team and their families and so on, then the entrepreneurial motivation perhaps is sometimes it's restricted to money or independence, right? A lot of people feel like entrepreneurship means doing things your own way, and only your own way, and that's actually not that true, because while you do decide, does not mean that you do things your own way, right? So I think the entrepreneurial motivation is actually, it can be cultivated over time. It's also a function of where you are in your life journey. I think certain people are not entrepreneurial when their social and economic context is different. Is constrained, it could be because of kids, it could be because of home loans, it could be because of, constraints of being in a certain location, it could be because of family health and constraints, therefore, right? But at other points in time, they might feel that entrepreneurial energy, right? They might feel like, they've done enough, and, now they want to do something which is different. Now, the bridge between this entrepreneurial energy and this whole sort of Bain to Praxis shift that you started your question with, I think it's really about potential. I think for me, I think I carried entrepreneurial energy through and through, but I don't think I was ready to start something at any point in time in my life. That's not true,
Hmm.
right? Because I also went through the same life cycle. Certain points in time, I felt very motivated, and certain other points in time, I knew that this was not the right time to venture out. And so, but ultimately, the shift for me from being in a job to an entrepreneur happened because of my desire to realize my full potential. I just felt like I could do more. I felt like I could spend more time. I felt like I could do things a bit differently and hopefully better, right? Differently is not enough. It has to be better, right? And and so once I started to feel that, I actually tried to figure out if the current context of my employment, I could enable that. Now, sometimes very good and very fortunate to have worked with. Actually, I've only worked with two employers in my entire career, and very fortunate, both of them world-class companies, and sort of
Right, sir.
provided me excellent mentorship. And in that context, like you need to create your own room, you need to create your own ground where you can do what you want to do. But I think what no employer or nobody else can decide for you is your own potential, right? You need to see what you are worth, what your sort of image of self-worth is. And if your employment can enable you to achieve that self-worth, then that's awesome, right? Then you can stay in your job or other jobs or whatever. You can stay in a professional career and actually live a fairly fulfilling life without
Right,
being
sir.
on career. For me, and for most entrepreneurs, I think their image of self-worth and what they can achieve is typically higher than what they see themselves achieving in their jobs, right? And that is what creates the motivation. Now, while this is the motivation, there is a drag to this motivation, which is the
Okay.
perception of risk, which is, do
Yes,
you
sir.
want to leave this bird in the hand, which is lower,
Hmm.
the lower value, perhaps, to this, two in a bush, which is your potential, right? And so, are you ready
Yeah.
to leave the bird in the hand, right? And take that risk, and go towards your full potential, right? And so I think some people are able to make that jump. Others are not able to make that jump, right? For a number of reasons. And so I think for me, the motivation was potential. And I think the motivation was a lot of potential, right? To say, look, I have to believe in myself. If I feel I have more potential, and before I can make others believe that I have potential, I need to first believe it myself.
Correct, sir.
And if I believed it myself, then why am I afraid of doing it myself, right? And
Right, sir.
so that journey was not an impulsive journey for me. I think it was a multi-year journey where I had to give myself comfort, right, to say that said I can do it, and I want to do it enough that I would bear the consequences if what I did not necessarily succeed. So I think, yeah, that's my journey. It's really about identifying potential and then really wanting to achieve that potential.
Right, so very beautiful words. So, thank you so much for giving that perspective. Especially a lot of people, there are a lot of people who want to, drop out of college or say they want to start up early. But time and again, I've heard this constant theme. It's everyone's timeline is different.
Yeah,
You can be ready at 20, you can still not be ready at 50, and
correct.
so just giving yourself that time, and figuring out when you're actually ready, that inner voice you have to listen to, that hey, I'm ready today. And as you very beautifully said, that you built yourself up, and then at one point you realized that you can do things. You got that comfort that you believe in yourself enough that you can go out and you can build something awesome on your own, sir. So that's also going to be something which leads me to my next question, sir. So you've built Praxis into a world-class strategy consulting firm. But sir, I wanted to understand, how did you think about doing things differently this time with yourself? What sets Praxis apart from other consulting firms? How are you able to scale Praxis up so fast? What is the secret sauce that you're bringing into the table, sir, with Praxis?
Yeah. So you see, I'll give you. I think there are two, three secret sources, so to speak, that has led Praxis to become what it has become. But I will actually start with a caveat. I think the element of luck cannot be ignored. I
Yes, sir.
think there are a lot of businesses and a lot of entrepreneurs who are doing the right thing, who are doing it the right way. But you need little bit of that perfect storm, that opportunity, that rising tide, to take you along the journey. So I think whatever I'm saying is with that caveat that I think we turned incredibly lucky as well, right? And I think we should give the due credit to that cosmic energy, that makes it happen. Okay, so I think with that due credit, I think what have we done right, right? Because you could have the cosmic energy, but if not doing things right, then you would actually not create a world class institution. So I think one is very very strong a sense of values. I think doing things the right way, right? In Praxis, every single Praxian knows that the rigor that they need to employ when they're doing research, for example, the kind of the honesty, intellectual honesty with which we communicate to the client. Sometimes the answers are liked by the client, sometimes they're disliked by the client. Sometimes they're also wrong answers. It happens, right? We've not fully considered everything to but having the humility to then say, okay, look, you might have a great point. We need 2 more days to to set this to a better answer than what we have today.
Right, sir.
So doing things right and being intellectually honest, I think is very important. Unfortunately, a lot of organizations, I'm not just saying consulting firms, a lot of organizations and a lot of us, when we are in organizations, for a number of reasons, are not able to do things that are truly right, or because you're waiting for a promotion, you're waiting for you wanted to go back home without spending the 2 extra hours, whatever, there are a whole bunch of constraints. I think the second thing that's very important, is is to be true to your profession, right? And we encourage everybody in Praxis. And one of the things I say very, very frequently in Praxis is, you'll never have to do things that you're not proud of doing in Praxis. And
Right, sir.
if a job, if an employment can actually promise you that, the disconnect from who you are as an individual and who you are as a professional, I think that disconnect is minimized, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to do the right things and do it the right way,
Right,
if
sir.
the context did not force them otherwise. And but the point that I'm trying to get to is, we often go to clients and tell them, the reason we've succeeded is because we tell clients what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. A lot of times, consulting is used with very different motivations,
Right, sir.
and I think we have resisted that temptation to grow faster by doing the wrong thing, right? And that brings me to my third point, and the last point is just focus, right? You'll start with a path that is true, right? You start with a path that I'm going to do the right thing. You start on that path that, I'm not going to make intellectual compromises. You start with a path saying, I will tell the client at the risk of they not liking what I'm telling them. I will tell them what they need to hear, right? Because they're paying me for sound professional advice, right? And that's what I'm supposed to give them. But you could go astray. You could have a very nice project where all you need to do is endorse a certain line of thinking at a client, or
Right, sir.
make comments or commentary that suits a certain set of stakeholders, right? And this temptation is very real, right? Because this temptation often comes with money. It also leads to more profits. It also sometimes leads to even stronger client relationships with some clients. But in the long run, I think it hurts. In the long run, people see through what you're trying to do. And in the long run, people know and that they can't trust you with work when it matters. And if you've not been honest with a client 5 years down the line, let's say I was evaluating an investment for a client, and and they're trying to sell a company, and they've hired me to do a business case for that company. Now,
Right,
when
sir.
I'm selling a company, it is obvious that a higher number is a better number, right? But if you want the same client to hire you when they're buying a company 3 years later, right, will they still come and hire,
Oh,
right?
right,
And
sir. Yeah.
how do you build that credibility where you've done the work in a manner that it's good, it is intellectually honest, it is constructive, but without compromising the sort of the ethics and the values. And more than ethics and values, just your job, your profession, right? If a doctor's job is to set the patient right, there is no other objective in an operating theater, right? It's the
Right,
same for
sir.
us as consultants, right? If you're trying to please family members, if you're trying to reduce pain during a surgery, at the cost of poor recovery, then I think we are probably not doing the right thing.
Right, sir. So thank you so much for letting this insight. Like I see now, so why Praxis is growing so fast, and like went on to become one of the leading consulting firms right now in India. So, but we've spoken a lot about successes right now, sir. But I want to shift my focus completely to the opposite side now. So, like building a startup is not an easy job. I'm sure there would be several obstacles, sir, which you would have encountered. I just wanted to, sir, ask you what were your obstacles, sir, when you were going into the market on your own with your co-founder.
Yeah, I think many of us, thankfully, blessed with a very good co-founder, and so I think we've together sort of done some amazing things, and which is also one of the reasons why Praxis is what it is. But I think the obstacles, I think, see, in an enterprise services or professional services business like us, it takes time to create a brand, right? It
Right,
takes
sir.
time to get known, and I think that process can be accelerated or expedited, but it can only be accelerated so much, right? You can't burn a lot of advertising money and create a strong enterprise brand. And so I think one of the constraints has been just this race against time, right? And that just means you have to be patient, right? There's no race, really speaking. We have a lot of runway ahead, but you need to give the time to work that much extra to explain to a client that you can get the job done, right? Because they don't know you. A lot of our clients in the initial phase, at least, had not heard about us. We
Right,
didn't
sir.
have a battery of casework to show. I or my co-founder and other team members could say what we've done individually, but we couldn't say what we've done as an institution, right? And so I think that was the first obstacle. And by the way, that obstacle continues. The intensity of it has reduced,
Okay.
but the obstacle continues, right? Because obviously, you've gotten to a certain level, you're then trying to get to the next level, and so on, and it takes time. Then I think the second obstacle is our love with sort of global brands. Anything and everything global, anything and everything multinational. I think we as Indians, and I don't know whether you saw my latest LinkedIn post on Chandrayaan as well. But I think the biggest thing that we need to do, I think, as a race, is build more pride in what we do. So a lot of times, clients will come to you. Clients will want to give you work, but then want you to charge half of what it should be paid, right, or what it is worth,
Right.
because you
Right.
you don't have a brand. You're trying to create a client logo in your books. We're trying to create referenceability with other clients, and so you need to, just like we say, we want our employees to feel proud of what they're doing, right? We externally also, we want to retain our pride. We don't want to sell at a discount. We don't want to, and a lot of times the clients, sort of, what cheeses me off, often is when clients are just looking for a global brand name,
Hmm.
despite not getting a better solution. I think at some level, it's fairly racist, and I think it's fairly unmeritocratic. But that's okay. Like, it doesn't perturb me. It's just that the fact it happens and I don't like it does not mean that that's not what the reality is. Does not mean that I don't see why people will do what they do. But I think this is a reality, and I think I think that's an obstacle that we are continuously trying to cross and trying to scale. And I think, look, because we anyway ourselves wanted to be a world-class institution, a global company, I think it's okay. Like, it only motivates us more to go global sooner, right? And
Yes, sir.
not just be not just be relegated to. We were very, very conscious that we don't want to be a boutique shop, so only specializing in a country, a vertical type of work. We didn't want to do that. Yeah, so I think, yeah, those are, I think, the two big obstacles. Otherwise, I think, the operating considerations of running any business, I think that's par for course. You can't have a 100% smooth sailing in whatever you do. It's not possible.
Ji.
And I think that's been we've sort of made our fair share of mistakes as we've grown ourselves.
So this is just gem, like what you just shared with me. So like I was following your journey. So since I was in college, Praxis came for the first time to my college in 2018, and since then I was just following. Oh, okay, like what's been Praxis doing? What are they up to? And so I've actually seen you grow in the past 6 to 7 years, like since you started. So it's amazing. So how far this journey has been. So and I'm very privileged again to like have this conversation with you. So it's one thing so like I wanted to sort of like particularly ask you, sir. A lot of people have seen how consulting landscape has evolved. So we
Yeah.
have the big three firms, and then sort of other boutique firms from global firms also come to India. So just but want you to get your understanding. So how is consulting has evolved, sir, over the past decade or so, sir? What skill sets have changed, like in general, sir? Like if you can provide some perspective into this industry, sir.
Yeah. See, I think consulting has always been about problem solving, has always been about client servicing, client empathy, right? And trying to understand what the client is trying to do. About teaming, it'll be very difficult for you to be a successful consultant if you don't team well. Right. So I think the core skill sets have not changed. I think some things have gotten added, in the sense that, businesses have become a lot more digital. Businesses, the
Hmm.
reality of the businesses, our client businesses, actually changing very quickly, right? So the whole concept of sort of doing a 5-year strategy, a 10-year strategy, what used to happen 10, 15 years back when I was a young consultant, I think that has changed. Now
Hmm.
clients are looking for a lot more enablement. Clients are looking for a lot of sort of work with me to get it done, rather than tell me what I don't know, right? 10 years back, it used to be tell me what I don't know,
Right,
right?
sir.
And now I think it's a lot about, I broadly know what my problem is. I broadly know what potential solutions might be, but I might not have certain skill sets or certain people, and more importantly, the focus in the organization to take on an objective and really sort of chase that through. And so the nature of projects has changed. The nature of projects, while we still do a lot of strategy work, the strategy work, is with the caveat that the strategy needs a refresh practically every year, because the context is changing, competitors are changing, everything is moving a lot more dynamically. And I think it's become very important to appreciate technology and digital. Praxis was a technology first firm. We started doing a lot of work
Okay.
with internet and technology clients. And I think thinking technology first and suggesting solutions that are technology oriented, understanding realities of the business. Because of, if you are an incumbent, what could digital disruptors do to you? If you are a digital disruptor, what can incumbents do to you, right? And the synergies, therefore, that you can drive. We were one of the first ones, by the way, 4 years back. We actually published articles saying the future is going to be omni. It's neither digital nor
Wow.
physical. We were one of the few guys, I think when COVID came, we said, within in 5 to 7 years, I think we came up with a report which published the impact on different sectors, consumer sectors. And we said, look, these businesses like QSRs or movie theaters, for example, I think these businesses are not going to die. No way. Like, they will actually bounce back very strongly. All right. And the reason we could do some of this stuff was because we're thinking about the new consumer. We are thinking about, we're creating proprietary points of view on how things work. We're trying to do deeper research to understand why people go to a movie theater. People don't go to a movie theater to watch a movie. People go to the movie theater because it's an outing. It's a source of entertainment. Movies, one of the things that engages you in that journey, but the purpose is actually different. And to say that because movies are available on OTT means people not go out and want to watch a movie in a much better visual, sound, and sensory experience. I think that was very naive. A lot of very popular consultants came back announcing how certain industries will not live, or will die forever in some
Right,
ways.
sir. Right, sir.
So I think To your point, I think change consulting needs you to be a lot more agile, a lot more thoughtful, a lot more primary research oriented, and a lot more enabling to the client than a lot more pedantic to the client, right? I think 15
Hmm.
years back, you could be pedantic. You could tell a client that you might not know this. I think in these days, it's almost naive to not respect what the client knows already.
Got it, sir. It's a very valuable perspective again, sir. So I know you're a very busy man. I'll just have one last question for you, sir.
Yeah.
I understand mentorship and learning goes hand by hand, and I'm sure you are have mentored a lot of people. But sir, I wanted to understand who were your role models and mentors when you were aspiring to be a consultant, and who are they now? Like, and if you can just share some of them, so that'll sort of
Yeah.
provide some perspective, sir, on how we should also find our own mentors.
Yeah, so I think you'll be very disappointed with my answers. I've not really had a mentor, right? Or even a set of mentors. Like, in fact, I'm actually, I've been, I would say, quite indisciplined around this. I think I've had excellent supervisors and mentors who mentored me on different things, right? Or let's just put it this way: I've picked different things from different people, right? The problem with you having a mentor or two or three mentors is that you're trying to become like them, but you cannot become like them. It's almost
Hmm.
impossible. You cannot. I'm just fundamentally against trying to become someone, right? I think you have to become you, right? And you have to discover what you are good at, what you are bad at, what your capabilities are, what your constraints are, what you like to do, what you don't like to do. I think the more you discover this, then you'll know what are the skills you need to build, what are the mindsets you need to develop, what are the attitudes you need to create, what are the attitudes you need to propagate, right, to others. And I think a lot of people, right, when I joined the Boston Consulting Group in 2004, happened to work with a number of people. A lot of them are in very senior positions still in BCG. I learned a lot from them, but different things from different people. There's a supervisor or a supervisor to a supervisor who is exceptionally smart, like with a very different approach to problem solving. There's certain people you learn how to stick to your ethics and values. Certain people you learn how to communicate. Certain people you learn how to orchestrate an audience and persuade an audience in the right direction. Certain people taught me how to manage conflict. Certain people taught me, how to stay calm when things are not going your way. Certain people supported me when I made mistakes. Certain people did not support me, when I was actually doing the right thing. So I think you accumulate these experiences and you imbibe the positives in you, and reject the negatives, right? And even somebody does things which you don't like, that's actually also okay, because you learn that at least by elimination, this is something I won't do, right? Or I should not do because this was not effective. So it's actually okay. It's okay to have bad supervisors. It's okay to have mentors who are not really mentors because they're still teaching you something. I think the mentorship comes with from within, and mentorship comes with you being ready to assimilate learnings that the environment is feeding into you, not from choosing a mentor. In fact, if you choose a mentor, you will probably get quite dissatisfied because you set a
Hmm.
benchmark. You're trying to meet that benchmark, but that benchmark is actually an artificial benchmark
Right,
because
sir.
everybody can have their own benchmarks. And also, look, every individual is an individual because of who they are, pluses and minuses both put together. So, having one mentor who sort of is awesome, I think it's just not, I just don't understand that concept. And so my advice to people, and I hate to be a mentor to people, by the way, I'm very happy to give advice, very happy to give them my point of view. I hope when people are with me, they're learning something, right, by observation or by interrogation, whichever way it might be. But do I derive a lot of ego kick because I'm a mentor to five people? Probably not. Have I given an ego boost to my people by calling them mentors? Unfortunately, not. Right? I've just learned from people and assimilated those learnings, and I think created an identity or a personality that is probably uniquely me, for good or for bad.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singhal, for this wonderful, deep answer, which would definitely help a lot of people in terms of how they can sort of pick and choose certain traits from people. Very beautifully explained by you, sir. And thank you so much, Mr. Singhal, for giving your time and being with us on this podcast.
No, no,
Thank you
all the
so much,
best,
sir.
Steve. I wish you all the best. I think keep doing the good work, and I can see that you're stretching your time by doing what you truly like to do. Best wishes to you, and keep up the good work. Thank you for having me today.